Today is Thursday the 16th of January 2014 and I had my second shot of Nebido today. That means it's been 3 months since I started testosterone. I managed to get into the NHS. I got my first appointment last week. That was just the first initial assessment, and pretty much as far as I can tell since I started privately, they're going to bring me straight through. They won't have any issues kind of making me wait or having to give me extra assessments or anything like that. If I had a GP that was willing to administer testosterone, which I didn't, then I could have started now, but I've had to go off and find a GP that's kind of willing to work with me. So that's going to take a wee while, but I did get my blood taken last week when I was at the gender clinic, so that saved me about 250 quid getting that done privately. Since that was kind of at the end of my 3 months since the first shot of the first shot of Nebido, that was like I think they call it a trough level test. So that's kind of my level at the lowest level of testosterone that I'm likely to be. So I'll find out whether the 3 months has been working okay for me, or if I'd be better to switch to something more every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks like Sustanon. Though I have heard that Sustanon is not being produced at the moment in the UK, and there's a shortage on just now that's not going to be alleviated until after summer. So if I can get onto Nebido and if it's all working fine for me, then that'll be ideal. I guess another benefit of that is that the private clinic and the NHS are now willing to talk to each other and to actually communicate. Because previously, when I'd been looking for GPs last year, I couldn't find a single one that wanted to have anything to do with my private care. So that was going to have to be all done privately at immense cost to me, which I couldn't afford. So I just kind of crossed my fingers that nothing would happen, that I would need a GP, and it hasn't, so that's been okay. Changes that I've noticed since my last video, there hasn't really been much. My voice has got a little bit deeper, but it's mostly settled to how it sounds just now. It's still cracking a bit, especially if I'm trying to say something higher pitched, or if I'm excited or laughing or try to say something loudly, so I try not to do that. But for most of the time it's been fine, and I'm passing over the phone consistently, which is brilliant. I've had quite a few cases where I've had to call up someone that I didn't know, like tech support over the phone in England, or PC World and stuff like that, and when they pick up the phone and they say, "Hello sir," I'm really happy about that. I think it's just it changes my whole attitude towards the conversation right from the start, and gives me a boost of confidence that I never really had before when I was getting the wrong pronouns and stuff. One thing I'm noticing, I'm getting, in my hands and arms, my veins seem to be popping out more, and I'm going to assume that's got something to do with increasing blood pressure. I've also noticed over the past week or so, I've been having some more nosebleeds. I usually don't get nosebleeds at all, but I've had maybe 5 or 6 over the past 4 or 5 days. So I don't know whether that's something I should kind of bring up with my GP, or if it's just to do with the air being quite cold and dry outside just now, because the temperature's dropped a bit. But it's something I'm keeping an eye on. I walked into the clinic today to get my shot of testosterone after I'd gone for a stroll along the river. I came back in, went into the clinic, and as soon as I walked into the warm room, my nose started bleeding just like from one side. But as the paramedic was going through the list of possible side effects of testosterone, I kind of pointed out that my nose had just started gushing, but they were okay with that. That was fine. Since it hasn't been happening over the past 3 months or anything, I'm just going to assume it's temporary, but I'll need to talk to the GP about that and find out. I've noticed a tiny little bit of increase in libido. That hadn't happened previously. I hadn't really been expecting anything to happen, but I'll find myself just occasionally, thoughts will pop into my head, or suddenly I'll get feelings for no apparent reason. I'm watching a bit more porn than I usually would. I don't really want to admit this in camera where folk I know might be watching this, but it's not something that I'd ever really done before. I suppose I don't really know what kind of people I would find attractive, because I don't find myself attracted to people very much at all, really. So the fact that I'm watching this porn, it's only gay male porn that I'm interested in, or it's only that does anything for me, but I don't actually see myself in the scene as either of the people engaged in this, and I don't feel as if I would want to do that myself. So I don't really understand how that works. I don't really understand how I can be turned on without actually thinking about that as, you know, as part of my own sexuality. It's kind of confusing, but I don't know. I guess it'll probably keep changing, especially since I've just had my second shot. I'm going to expect in the next month or so that'll clear itself up. But we'll find out about that as well. The last thing I'd kind of point out or discuss, I guess, I feel as if I'm getting more benefit out of my creativity. I think this might have something to do with my increased confidence, or my increased willingness to actually act on the ideas that I get. Before, I could sit with a blank word screen just with nothing on it, and I could have vague ideas of stories that I would want to write. It's creative writing that I like doing most of all, just as a hobby. But I could have vague ideas of stories that I'd want to do, and characters, and in the past I've drawn out character sheets and I've seen them in my mind of how I want them to be, but as soon as it comes to writing I just can't think of anything. Or if I can, I don't have the confidence to actually start writing it down. But over the last couple of months I've done more writing than I have in the past 2 years, which is, it's bizarre to me, I think. Because I'm looking back at work that I did several years ago when I was kind of in the thick of it, and I'm looking at the quality of my writing back then, and it's amazing compared to what I was able to do up until a few months ago. But I guess it's like riding a bike, you just get back on and you stop wobbling after a few minutes. But I'm really enjoying the confidence to actually write down the sentences that are in my head and just to keep going with it. And even when something doesn't work out quite as well as I would like it to, I can almost push past that, and I've got the confidence to keep on working and come out with full scenes. I'm 20 or 30 pages down in work that previously I could only do maybe a sentence or two a night. I've got a ritual where before I go to bed I've got a wee netbook, and I'll open it up the last document, whatever I was working on, reread some of the things that I'd been writing the previous night, and then add to it. And I can add paragraphs, I can add pages now, and I have to assume that's got something to do with my increased confidence and my increased feeling of having like a valid place in the world, as opposed to being someone that never quite fitted in. I've got a sore knee, sorry. But yeah, that's probably my favourite side effect so far. I haven't really been working on anything else. I've got a couple of paints I need to finish, but those are just like basically traced out from game screenshots. It's a couple of game characters that I quite liked, and I can't afford to buy paintings, so I'm making them myself on canvas. But I haven't touched them yet. I haven't really gone back to anything else kind of creative, but once I get bored of writing I'll go and try some other things, and I'm hoping I'll have some results with that. So I'm just trying to think when my next update will be, because I've got everything written in a note here. No, can't think of anything. Probably my next NHS appointment, which will be after my doctor, so I'll ask them about my nosebleeds and stuff, and I might post an update then. But until then, thanks for watching.